Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Big Chill Podcast. This is episode 882. Time to toss out Tuchel. Hello, Big Chillians, and welcome back to the Big Chill Podcast. I'm Frank, joined as always with Eddie. Listeners, you might want to know it's definitely gotten bad when Eddie has left Europe completely and immigrated all the way to America after that England loss.
Yeah, I was so devastated by the defeat that I flew to Texas. I immediately had to get both as far away, or technically slightly closer, but as far away from England as possible.
Yeah, well, did a good job. So yeah, obviously we'll do a deep dive in on the two semifinal World Cup matches, and then preview the World Cup final. But first, how's the trip been? I'm sure we're not a travel podcast, but we kind of are a travel podcast. And you took a nice long flight to Texas, and knowing you, I'm sure something bugged you. So interested to hear what bothered you this flight.
Well, it's a gripe that I've had in the past too, and we've had some backlash from people with children when we've spoken about similar topics previously. But people flying with their kids, I think, is the biggest issue, and just not taking.
Wait, we got to set the stage first. What class are you flying in?
Economy.
Okay, that's a no holds bar Royal Rumble, Eddie. That's on you.
Full economy. Just paid for seat selection, but nothing fancier than that.
And what was the issue?
So, immediately in front, so it was a family of four with two relatively young kids sitting in front, although the dad was sitting separately. And when they got onto the plane, they tried to do that thing. So, because I was in a 2, but in front was a 3. Because I was kind of at the back, they do this. You can kind of get like duo seating in the last row of the sort of each economy section to sort of give you a little bit more privacy. I guess you're not dealing with the 3, and then but in front was a 3, and they asked when they got on board already if they could get the seat across the aisle from them so that they could be 4 together. Now.
Did you happen to hear what the exchange was? Was it for another
aisle? A little bit, but it was very quickly dealt with because the guy sitting in the aisle, it was just him and his like 5-year-old kid. So he said, "I can't move because I need to sit." Yeah. So it got handled quickly. The thing that annoyed me about that is that the configuration of the economy was 3-4-3. So if you want to be 4, you had ample opportunity to get 4, I'm sure.
Unless it was a late ticket. Maybe.
Possibly. But they got 3 together. So it can't have been that late, if you see what I mean. Like they must have done it early enough where I'm sure the plan almost all along was, let's take the 3 and then we'll get someone else to move. You know, that kind of thing. They then got lucky that the dad, where he was sitting, no one was sitting next to him. So then for the majority of the flight, they were kind of doing 2 and 2. They were at least smart enough that like the dad was taking one kid and it was sitting next to him.
You got to feel so bad for the other guy who sat down and was like, a free seat in between us. Awesome. I hit the jackpot. And then have a kid just be like jumping in the seat. Oh, that would suck.
Especially because of who these kids were. They were really poorly behaved. They were loud. Like even as we were preparing to take off, they were sort of screaming and yelling at each other. The one kid started to watch her iPad with no headphones in. To the point where then I like tapped the mother on the shoulder and asked if the kid could put headphones in. I think from that moment on, I don't think the mother was a big fan.
Amazing. But how quickly into the flight is this?
This is pre-takeoff.
That's amazing. Pre-takeoff, you're just setting the tone. They haven't even sat in the seats yet, and you're like, I hope that kid's got fucking headphones.
Well, she did have headphones.
He's like coming down the aisle.
But I don't know, and we've spoken about this on other journeys. I don't understand how we've just accepted now that because you can watch things. And what also bothered me about it too is the kid got out her iPad and then was watching a children's show. The mother was already watching a before we'd taken off. She'd already put her headphones on and was watching something on the screen. So she'd checked out. So now it was like, this is okay. The iPad is going to do the parenting. And if it's an inconvenience for all of you, that's not my problem. I'm going to relax now and I'm going to watch a movie. Like, that's the thing. I won't complain if it's you interacting with your kid and trying to keep your kid entertained on a flight and making noise. That's fine. Like, I'm not saying you can't do that. I would never turn around to someone and say, hey, you're being a little loud talking to your kid, or, you know, you're playing a game with your kid and it's annoying for me to listen to. But if it's you saying, I want to relax, so I'm going to distract my kid with something, but I don't care if it inconveniences you, that's the thing that bothers me.
Yeah, that is kind of
And
annoying.
then,
if it's just like, I'm done, you deal with my kid.
yes. And then that then happened again. These kids were probably, the boy was probably 4 or 5 and the daughter probably 9. So like, they're not babies that we're talking about, but not super well behaved. And then at one moment during mid-flight, the boy had a tantrum that must have lasted 30 minutes, 45 minutes of just screaming, basically. And the mother, again, just put her headphones back on and was just doing the, like, I'll let you cry yourself out. That's great, but this is going on way too long and your kid is too old for this. This isn't a baby that I get it. Hey, there's nothing you can do. Sometimes they're just going to cry. This is a functioning human who you should be able to speak with and say, you can't behave like this. You need to stop crying. And then the cherry on the cake, which you and I disagree vehemently on how and when you can recline on a plane, is then the kids went full recline with no warning. No, like, hey, do you mind if I move my seat back? Just shove the seats back. I don't think there's space in economy anyway for full recline. I think you can't go.
I wouldn't call it. I think the first mistake you make is you call it full recline. It's really not full recline. It's like,
no, it's
15 degrees of recline.
Yeah.
My feeling, I don't like it. Like, I'm not someone who is like, yeah, recline on me. But I feel like if you have a seat that reclines, then you should be able to recline. Now, I do appreciate if someone gives like at least a look back and is like, hey, I'm going to recline. Like, do you, like, heads up, or like, are you eating? You know, like, let me know or something so I don't smash your food or whatever. But like, I don't complain if someone in front of me reclines, because that's what the seat does. It's annoying to me because it does no benefit to me, because like when I recline, it doesn't help me sleep. So I never recline. No. Like, I'm not someone who, like, I can't fall asleep in a slightly reclined chair, but people can. So good on them. And like, I'm okay with that. But like, I can see you being annoyed if this kid just smashes the recline seat like in the middle of the flight, like without a heads up.
I don't get the real benefit of reclining, as you say, in that mode. Like 12 degrees of slightly altered angle doesn't make me much more comfortable or make it much easier to sleep. So I don't really get what the benefit is. But it's an interesting
but
one.
It must for some people.
It does for some. I think they convince themselves it does. I don't think it really does. But basically you're saying is you've bought the seat, so you've also bought slight access to my knee space. And when I bought my seat, I didn't buy full access to my knee space. That's the sort of conversation that's taking place there. And that's the bit I don't understand. It's like, I get it. If there's no one behind you, knock yourself out. Maybe if it's a kid behind you, and so you know you're not inconveniencing them, then also do it. But as soon as you realize, like, you're sitting in the same seat, you know there's not a huge amount of leg room, regardless of how big you are. Once you're an adult, there's just not a huge amount of leg room. And so to say, no, I'm going to just... screw you, I don't care at all. I mean, we have back-to-back podcasts basically where we're talking about people not having a second thought for other people in the world. But I don't think it gives you the right to just take away space. The leg room you have bought for yourself is the most important thing. Because ultimately my feeling on it is, if you really care about reclining, you should have paid more for a seat. And you should have gone and made sure that you could recline comfortably. Go get yourself a lay-down bed. I don't actually care that much about reclining. I'm not going to recline, but all I care is that my knees don't touch the seat in front of me.
Yeah, I hear you. But I feel like if a seat reclines, you should be allowed to recline it.
I get it. I get it. I understand. But I wouldn't.
This is one of the few things I will take the stance with the person that I have no like connection or like skin in the game for. If anything, like I wish people wouldn't recline, but like I get it. There are that 5% of the population that they recline and they can just fall asleep.
Because the fascinating thing to me is...
It's probably not that kid, though.
No, the fascinating thing to me, too, is if I reclined and there was someone behind me, the thought that I was inconveniencing them or making them more uncomfortable would ruin my ability to relax more than an extra 9 degrees is going to change my ability to relax. So that's the thing that would really bother me is the thought, even if I looked behind at first and was like, I think I can go back a little bit. They're asleep. Oh, this is okay. But then I just start to think of like, what if they need to get up or the person next to them needs to get up? And now my seat's reclined. So now the only thing they can now do actually is the thing of like grab onto the back of my seat, which is undoubtedly going to wake me up or disrupt me. So... like I can't get annoyed with them if you recline if they then grab your seat. Whereas I can get a little annoyed with you if I haven't reclined and you do the like seat grab to try and get through. But anyway, we can probably talk.
Kids on the plane, not so good. Once again.
No. Yeah. It's just a theme. And I know we'll get backlash.
I think you're going to get backlash because it is economy. And economy is slightly like a Royal Rumble.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. And look, people are animals. You see that. You just see people doing things there that I can't believe. I can't believe people are doing in public.
It blows my mind. It really does. Like, yeah, it's crazy.
Even the kid across the aisle from them, who was kind of annoying. She made noise. She also watched like kid shows on the phone for a while with no sound on. But I think the dad got the idea that he was getting some glances from various people, and so he at least muted the phone pretty swiftly. But like at one moment, he let her, multiple times during the flight, just go in the aisle and then just sort of swing on the armrests, like on the opposite sides of the aisle. Now, at a time when no one was sitting on the other across the aisle from them, but you still just think to yourself, like, this is a wild thing to be doing. Just letting your kid do this in the middle of a flight. I flew a lot as a kid, so I at least have a point of reference of what was I allowed to do when I was 5 years old and flying. And that it wouldn't have crossed my mind to do, and I would have never been allowed to have done it.
Well, Eddie, it's funny you say that because we have footage from a flight 22 years ago.
22 years? Oh, so I was 16.
Yes. And wait till you see what you were doing at 16.
swinging down the aisles?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was going to say even like the shit adults do on flights still blows my mind. Like it's just crazy. Like I don't understand. Like, I mean, we've talked about this so many times, but just like popping the shoes off and like putting your feet up, like it's insane.
And walking around with bare feet. I saw someone go to the bathroom with no shoes or socks on. I mean, I guess you could argue that actually going to the bathroom with no socks on is better than with socks on. Like, because it's if you see, like, at least if I'm then going to put my shoes on and I put a pair of socks on and my feet are gross, that to me, I mean, it's all awful, but that to me, I guess, is slightly better.
I put the slippers on. You didn't put your slippers on?
They weren't handing those out in basic economy, unfortunately.
Sorry.
But yeah, no, there's lots of things that people do. It's just it's crazy. But that, and too, the other thing, and I feel like the fasten seatbelt stuff is now taken as a suggestion rather than, which surprises me because over the last few years, there's been a lot of incidents of, that flight had bad turbulence and lots of people got hurt. But you get people, the fasten seatbelt signs on and you're going through, like reasonable. We didn't have bad turbulence, but you get some turbulence you're going through and people still just getting up, getting something out of a bag, wandering around for a minute. That bit surprises me. It is on them until you get a moment out of flight, and then you got to, the flight attendant is also smacking their head because they've tried to save you after you had to get your extra pair of AirPods out of your bag mid turbulence.
Well, they probably had to get it because you were complaining their kid was listening to it out loud.
True.
All right, so shall we get to the semifinal matches?
Yeah. I guess we can start with France-Spain. It will be quicker.
Okay.
I think in the end, I get a lot of backlash sometimes for getting things wrong. I think I got this France-Spain matchup pretty right, which is that Spain just suffocated France, dominated possession, didn't allow France to really get a foothold in the game at any point. France played badly. Spain played very, very well, and their game plan worked perfectly, but France also played badly. I think tactically Deschamps got things wrong for France in that he played four wingers, which is what they've done the whole tournament, but basically that's four wingers up front, and they didn't really have anyone in midfield to try and help them get possession. The only person who maybe could have done that, who was on the pitch, was Rabiot, and he got booked early. Should have been sent off for a second yellow card in the first half as well. And then that sort of nullified him. But it's interesting because you kind of look at their bench in a way, and I know Kante is not playing the highest level of football anymore, but that's a game. When France have been successful, it makes you think, and we'll probably have this theme a little bit in the England game too, how integral one player can be to allowing everyone else to do things really, really well. And Kante got a lot of praise for the role that he played in 2018 and then even in 2022.
Yeah.
But they basically needed him to be doing the midfield work of two or three people and covering up for that fact and winning the ball back and distributing it to more talented players. And instead, Spain were just able to keep ball for 90 minutes, basically.
Yeah, I kind of completely agree with everything you said there. Like you watched it, and it was as almost if almost exactly what you're saying is where France just couldn't get possession enough to set anyone up. Like any chance they had was kind of almost like not like a fluke chance, but like a long ball that Spain missed, and France were able to pick up and just kind of take it and go and kind of create some sort of opportunity. Like there wasn't enough. France never had enough possession to really get into a good flow and to kind of distribute the ball around to their good players and get them in nice spots to have good chances. I mean, I don't think they had really any big chances. Like I think.
No.
The first big chance, I think Dembele took a shot outside of the box in like the 75th minute or something like that. And you're like, oh, and he missed it terribly. But like, that was like the first time we were like, oh, he almost had a shot there,
Yeah, which, I spoke to some French people the next day, and, their reaction mostly was, oh, Spain were just way better than us, which was sort of their coping mechanism, which I think is going to be the reverse of what I'm going to do in the England-Argentina match. But I agree. Spain were the better team on the day. And, if we think back to our pre-tournament, we both picked Spain to win the World Cup. So it's no surprise that Spain beat France in the semifinal stage. But France played badly. And no matter how good the opposition are, to go 90 minutes without creating any type of real genuine scoring opportunity, that tells you that you've played really badly. Because usually, even if you lose 3 or 4-0, you probably can create one half decent chance where you think, oh, we should have scored there. And France never did that. Now, the news that's coming out that says that at halftime, Dembele was critical of the team performance, and then a bunch of other French players got pissed off that he was criticizing the team when they thought he was playing particularly badly. And supposedly this caused a rift at halftime where they didn't like the idea of Dembele criticizing other people when he himself was playing poorly. That's probably not the greatest sign of, what the situation in the French camp maybe was or certainly is now. And then on top of that, you have the fact that the biggest news that came out was that Olise is trying to get a move to Real Madrid from Bayern Munich, and that his big concern during this World Cup was making sure that Bayern Munich would accept a transfer bid for him. So maybe things were a little bit sour already, and the first time that France really faced a test, that kind of all came to the surface.
Yeah, maybe.
Spain looked good.
Yeah, the Dembele thing is strange too, because it's like you'd really have to be in the locker room for that, because there are a lot of times where people, I've been on many teams where someone will be critical of people playing bad, but kind of like lump themselves in that category too. So you wonder if it was one of those like, come on, guys, we're playing bad. Like, you're not doing this. You're not doing this. Like, we've got to be better. We've got to be better. Or it was like, you guys are killing me. Like, I'm not getting the chances I
Yeah.
need. Like, you suck and I'm doing everything I can and nothing's happening because you suck. Like you wonder what it was that was kind of like the tone. And some people even can't take the first part, right? They just don't want to be criticized at all, whether it's that person is also criticizing themselves and lumping themselves into it. Some people just don't take well to like that halftime or whatever period criticism. But
No, for sure. And it's also what's the sort of chemistry within the team, right? Because Dembele might he might think of himself as, look, I'm back-to-back Champions League winner. I'm the face of PSG now. I've won the Ballon d'Or. Like, I am someone who should be standing up in this locker room and telling, reading the riot act at halftime because we're playing really badly. Because this is what I would do at PSG and everyone would listen to me. And then maybe there's a chance that within that French dressing room, you've got Mbappe going, why are you doing this? Like, I'm better than you. I'm more experienced than you are. I'm the leader of this team and definitely the attacking leader of the team. And then you might even have someone like Elise who's saying, like, I think I'm better than you. So what are you, like, why are you doing this? And this is the interesting thing, right? Because if you're me and you play for France and you have this image of Dembele still as what he was at Barcelona, you're maybe like, shut up, Dembele. You play for PSG. This is like big boy time now, and we don't need you doing this. But I can understand from his perspective that he's been the most informed French player for 24 months, basically. Not necessarily for the national team, but in terms of how he's playing consistently. Yeah, and now I have to support Spain. So that was quickly resolved. Could be worse. I do actually like a decent amount of their players, and I think that, and we'll get onto this, I think the way they handled themselves, pre-match, post-match, everything, with so much more class than, say, Argentina, for example. And so a much more likable team. Yeah.
So let's get then on to Argentina, England.
Mm-hmm.
A few different areas of talking points that I've kind of highlighted here. I don't know the best way to kind of, I guess, go about this. So let's start off with, I think, because this kind of was the tone of the match opening up. It was very physical. I'll say physical on both sides, but leaning towards not within the rule book physical on the Argentina side.
Yeah, it's dirty.
Like I think both teams came out and played physical, but it was clear Argentina's mentality was, we're going to be dirtier and we're going to push the envelope and see if we can let the ref keep his cards in his pockets and take that advantage to us to get into under England's skin a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it actually didn't really work so much in the first half. I think England I give England a ton of credit. They did not really retaliate at all and kind of stuck within their game. And like, for the most part in the first half, they didn't really let it get to them. But at some point, that ref has to step in and say, like, there's one thing of letting you guys play. There's another thing of letting one team be physical and the other team just be dirty and cheap shotting. And like, it was very clear early on that they were very dirty. It was tough to watch at points.
Yeah, so I'll give the referee a bit of credit in that the big fear, right, was that he was just going to blow his whistle entirely for Argentina. And he gave indications early on that was not going to be the case, including shockingly not giving Messi every foul that he wanted. And so he at least did that. But I agree with you. He needed to book players sooner. The fact that the first player booked in that match is Elliot Anderson in the 37th minute is shocking. And the thing that annoys me about it is that the people praising the referee then say, like, but look, the last half an hour of the match was actually played pretty well. And that shows that he let them sort of get it out of their system. No, what happened is England scored. And so then Argentina couldn't afford to just be fouling every time because they were only going to waste their own time. So the referee got lucky that England scoring first meant that Argentina actually had to come and play football and stop doing what they were doing. And so the match did look better in the final 30 minutes than it did for the initial 60 minutes because of the scoreline, not because the referee had gained control of the match. And had England scored again and gone 2-0 up, I think it would have descended into like complete chaos at that point in terms of how those Argentinian players were behaving. And yeah, so I don't think it was good refereeing. There's no major look. There's a foul on Jed Spence from Messi for the second.
Well, we'll
goal.
get to that because that's a little different. That's a no.
I know,
foul
but
call.
I'm just saying in terms of that's the only refereeing decision that I think you can point to in the match and say this is where probably they got things wrong. I mean, look, there's the punch on the back of the head of Anderson. Like,
come on, you've got to call that. You've at least got a card. What I hate about like what drives me like a little mad sometimes about football is like oh, we can't book someone early. Like that bothers me in a way because like you shouldn't be able to take advantage of that where it's like, oh, I know they're not going to book me early.
You get one for free.
I'm going to throw in an elbow in the back of some guy's head and get away with it. Whereas like it shouldn't matter. Like that pisses me off to a certain extent that like you get that, like you said, you get that one for free. That's a that's a card. That's a yellow card.
Oh yeah,
sure.
it's almost arguably a red card.
It's almost a red card.
Yeah, no, I think if he sends him off, I don't think it's super controversial other than it just being early in the match. But when you really break it down and look at what he's done, I mean, it's more serious foul play than a lot of things that get red cards. But the thing that bothers me about this, yeah, and right in front of him. But the thing that bothers me, and this is, I'm not saying like VAR couldn't intervene there because that's not the parameters that it works within. But why? And I don't want it handing out yellows, but I do think it's fine for it to say, hey, that guy like punched someone in the back of the head. It's not a red card, but you should give him a yellow card. I think that's okay. I think that's where you say this isn't a judgment call of someone letting the game flow. This is, you kind of miss this. And why can you not have VAR say that, but then for simulation, you can get booked based on review of VAR. So you are saying that yellow cards can be handed out by video review, but only in very specific circumstances. And yeah, I just think, I don't think the referee was great. I don't think that's an easy match to referee, but I think he needed to be booking Argentinian players earlier than he did.
Exactly. To your point, like it still was crazy to me that the first person booked was an England player.
Yeah. And not only because they were dirty, but you had like Simeone, who I think he committed 7 fouls in the first half.
Yeah.
And so it's not even just individual incidents. It's just an accumulation of fouls, all of which were not like, oh, I just accidentally tripped someone or whatever. They're all, I've gone in
pushing
hard
you in the back.
This. Yeah. Like you've just played a pass and I'm just going to run through the back of you just to let you know I'm here stuff. And yeah, I know that like old school football people will kind of like that, but you know, it's just kind of awful. And ultimately this is the thing that bothers me is you get Argentina in the final and people talk about Messi and their attacking talent and the great football they play. They play awful football most of the time. And Messi is the exception to basically how the rest of Argentina functions. And he only doesn't do it because he's too small and too lazy to get involved. I mean, you know, it's not as if he's above what they're doing, because if that were the case, then similar to the Dembele thing, why isn't Messi standing in at the halftime and saying, look, guys, this isn't how we want to win. This is not good. Like I'm the greatest footballer of all time and I've made my name for being, you know, talented and playing the football in the right way. And now you're here kneeing people in the back, elbowing people in the back, sort of coming in late on every challenge that you can.
Yeah. So now let's discuss, I think, maybe up to England's first goal. So for me, I thought, like I said before, I thought England did a great job of not getting caught in the weeds of Argentina trying to play a little dirty, trying to get under their skin a little bit. I think they weathered that storm pretty well. Controlled the first half a little bit. Like it didn't let Argentina do much. They didn't do much themselves, but kind of, you know, I think dictated the match a little bit. And then came out in the second half, I thought, with a little bit of, hey, we saw what they did in the first half. We can beat this team. We can take advantage. We're better than this we're better than them, and went out and put some good pressure on and scored a nice goal. I think up until that point, I would have said this looks like England can win this 2 or 3-0.
I felt when they took the lead at that point, I felt super confident. I agree with you. They'd controlled the match. Argentina really hadn't created anything. You saw in the goal the big threat that England were going to put. You had both Argentinian center backs have been booked, which is going to be a real issue for them in terms of the risks that they could continue to take moving forward. And you saw in that goal, I was a bit skeptical of Rodgers playing on the right. And Tuchel made that decision, and it paid off, obviously, in terms of him. Great cross in for Gordon for the goal. But you saw the pace and England's ability to sort of break on Argentina, and they had nothing there's nothing they could do about that. And that's what then becomes stunning for how England then approach 55 minutes onwards, which is, you would say at 55 minutes in, the game plan has worked perfectly. We have them fairly well contained. We know that the thing that we do well, the whole reason that Tuchel has picked this squad, like the thing that when we spoke pre-tournament about the idea of he's picked players for a system and not the best players available. And the system was, we got Kane up front, we're solid defensively, and then with our with Anderson and Rice, and then we have extreme pace out wide, and we will cause teams problem with that pace. And that's what got the goal. And then you thought, wonderful, this is like Croatia style situation, where not only has it worked, but we have the reinforcements. If they're tired, you bring on Rashford, you bring on Saka, you just keep rinsing and repeating. Even if you want to bring on Madueke, fine. He's at least the pace to stretch the game, and Argentina are going to push forward. But on top of it too, it was a wonderful matchup for England because Argentina don't play with wingers. What they do play with is attacking fullbacks who like to get forward. And so if you think we're going to have to absorb pressure, but their fullbacks are going to have to push forward, it's going to expose opportunities in behind them. And if sooner or later we're going to just be able to hit a long ball to a player on the right or the player on the left who is going to be through on goal or at least in a very good attacking position. And instead, England instantly abandoned the thing, not only that was working, but the whole reason they put together this squad and built this team. So, yeah, it was awful.
Yeah, no, I really wanted to bring up the Croatia match because I think that's what I wish they did. Like in that Croatia match, Croatia was able to score goals, but England's mentality was we can just keep creating opportunities and we're just going to beat you. Like, okay, maybe you get the equalizer, but we're just going to keep coming. We're going to keep doing what's working. We're going to keep doing what's we're so much better than everyone else at, kind of getting that ball wide, getting it in, just continuing to push and push and push. And they did the complete opposite. They did, granted, what worked in the last two matches of getting the lead and sitting back. But I don't think it's always going to work against, this is not Mexico. I don't think Argentina are great, but they're better than Mexico. Come on. Once they started, you knew it was going to happen.
Two big differences. I mean, okay, Argentina are way better than Mexico. But also, England were down to 10 men. So you were kind of limited in your options. You'd been forced into a situation where basically you're we need to put other defenders on because we've lost a defender. So we have to sacrifice. We can't take the approach that we did against Croatia. And the only time we saw England take that approach was against Croatia. It started with this bang, and then we never saw it again. Not really, because, ultimately in Norway, it was 1-1. England weren't winning until the extra time. And at that point, Norway were a spent force. You and I discussed it in the last episode. And what annoys me is England actually had exactly the same opportunity here against Argentina. They take the lead, and Argentina, and okay, Scaloni, the difference between Scaloni and Tuchel in terms of the decisions they then take, within 15 minutes of England scoring, 17 minutes of England scoring, he's made 4 substitutions. Yeah. He's brought on 3 attacking players for 3 defensive players, basically, and then also brought on Otamendi as just a replacement for Martinez, who'd been booked. So he'd gone all out. They were almost playing 2 at the back at that point. And rather than England saying, and this is what really bothers me, is saying, you've played your hand tactically now. So what we'll do, even if you score, we'll reset at 1-1, And we have a tactical advantage that you've completely reset your system in a way that's not sustainable. That if we just keep playing the way we were already playing, we will create chances. And hopefully we create that chance and score and go 2-0 up before you score. But even if it's 1-1, it's not catastrophic. We've made you waste resources and change your game plan in a way that you wouldn't have wanted to coming into the game. And in response, like England wait and wait and wait. There's the first substitution in the 72nd minute, Konsa for Gordon. Okay. I don't love it, but it maybe makes sense with the way the game was going. But then the following substitutions of Byrne for James and O'Reilly for Rice. At that point, England have now played their hand. It's the 82nd minute.
Yeah.
And they've said, like, we now have to not concede in the next 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And if we do, we're in no position to retake the lead or to challenge you because we are so defensive now, which is exactly the situation they were in against Mexico. And, we spoke about it. I said after the match, we were a bit lucky that Mexico made poor changes themselves and played into our hands and just lumped long balls into the box. And here, Argentina didn't make those mistakes. They went, oh, hey, the thing we're going to do? We're just going to pass the ball to Messi a lot, who for reasons I'll never understand is basically being left alone on the right-hand side, to just pick the ball up, whip the ball in over and over and over again. And look, I think Tuchel should be fired. I think that's the worst coaching job in an individual match that I've ever seen from an England manager, which is saying something because throughout my lifetime, England have spectacularly failed in different stages of the competition. I was critical, like listeners of the podcast will know, I've been critical of Southgate at times for being too conservative, but he was conservative within his system. He was like, the game plan was to be conservative. He would have told those England players going into it, like, we take the lead, we defend the lead. Because, we've spoken about it previously. Southgate realized that the teams that win tournaments are the teams that concede the fewest number of goals. So he was reverse engineering success of actually, people talk about attacking football. It doesn't win tournaments. We just want to not concede. So if we get a 1-0 lead, we
Defense
protect
wins
it.
championships.
Yes. But the wonderful thing there is, like, that's what he's preparing his players to do. So the training they will have done, the mentality that they have, everything, he's asking the players to execute on what he has prepared them for. Tuchel there is like, supposedly came in, he was the anti-Southgate. He said this openly, like, oh, England lost because Southgate didn't take risks. We'd rather win being bold than lose being afraid. And, this whole thing, like England, his one quote of like, England are afraid of losing something they've never had, all this sort of stuff. And then he's done it like multiple times, like much worse than Southgate did. And he forced his players then into systems that I'm sure they didn't prepare for. If he wants to come out and tell me that he prepared for England to shift to a back five where basically every single player was playing out of position, that they were doing that in the build up to the Argentina match, like sometimes running practice where it's like, no, let's like put ourselves into a situation where we have defenders playing in midfield, center backs playing left back, center backs playing right back. Harry Kane is now basically a defensive midfielder. Like what are you doing? And his defense of himself is that England started to slip back prior to his changes. That people are critical of his changes, and he's right. I've rewatched England score and they stop pressing as much. That's what you get paid to be a coach for. Like, I could be the England manager if it's just sending Harry Kane and players out and going, just go play, just go score. But the moment when shit starts to hit the fan on the pitch, that's when you're supposed to step in and make tactical changes. And he even benefited from having a hydration break where they're still 1-0 up and things had gone wrong. And like, where in the hydration break, why are you then not making the changes of like, look, guys, we've sat too deep. So I'm going to change this, this, and this, and we are not going to sit deep. If you're going to lose, you're going to lose, but you're not losing this way. This is supposedly the inspirational team talk he gave at halftime in the Croatia match, was the like, we lose the way we prepared to lose, to win. Where was that? And you can tell even the post-match comments, the reason why I think he should be, I know this is a long rant, but the reason why he should be sacked, Kane's thrown him under the bus. Kane's come out post-match and said, like, I don't know why we started to sit so deep. He came out and like immediately post-match said, I don't know what we were doing. Like, why? I don't know why we scored and then just sat back. if you have your players, either you haven't prepared them properly for the moment because they've defaulted to something that they shouldn't have done. That's also your fault. It's not their fault. You're there to prepare them for the situations, and you have not prepared them properly. They have got into a position where they should know what's the game plan from here. What are we supposed to do? What are we prepared for? And they haven't done it. And then you have opportunities to change that, and you haven't done it. And the changes that you have made have actually only reinforced the mistakes that they're making. Like, if he had sent on Saka and Rashford and then they'd continued to sit deep, okay, you've tried, you've done your best, and the players have failed you. And as a coach, you can say that sometimes, but you didn't do that. I think he has to go. I hated his post-match comments. I think he was kind of trying to throw the players a bit under the bus, where they're like, this isn't what I told them to do. And he did that at Chelsea too. I mean, he's made these mistakes previously at Bayern Munich and at Chelsea. Exactly this scenario of going too defensive at the wrong moments. And also, I mean, everywhere he's coached has ended poorly fairly quickly because he can't keep the players on his side. I think he should be sacked. I think we should be making the biggest offer possible to Pep Guardiola and moving on. Thanks, Tuchel. It was okay. Hope to never see you again.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Like, regardless of whether he wanted them to sit back or not, it was clear they were sitting back very early after that goal. And you have that hydration break. You now have that stupid fucking little third quarter, fourth quarter intermission where you can sit and talk to your team. That's your job. Your job is, like, you can't say, oh, the players sat back. I didn't want them to do it, but they sat back. Then you're the goddamn manager. You step in and say, stop fucking doing it. Don't sit back. Why are we sitting back, guys? What's going on here? Who's causing this? Figure out what's happening and make changes and force those changes. Like, I agree with you completely. Like, if he really thought they were sitting back and he didn't want that, then put Rashford out, put Saka out. Yeah. Those are two great players who want to go forward. They want to make opportunities. Make the change. If they're not even listening to you, which, I mean, first off, they should be listening to you. And that's a big issue if they're not. If you're actually telling them to go forward, and they're still not, then that's an issue. But if they're not listening, then make the changes to almost force their hand. Like, you're going to put Rashford out there. He's not going to want to come back and sit. He's going to want to go. And as soon as a ball's out to him, he's going to be flying to go and get that ball and create opportunities. And but instead, he puts in subs that then reinforce them sitting back. Like, you can't tell me you don't want them to sit back and then put fucking Dan Burn back there. Like, of course, then
but also importantly, it's Dan Burn. You know, his substitutions. It's who are you taking off? If he had taken off, because look, I think John Stones was concussed, and I think
from that hit,
yeah, and I think he should have taken Stones off because I actually think even in the winner, I think he's semi-concussed and is a little dazed. If he'd taken Stones off for Burn, okay, that's you've decided. You know what? This is the better center back for this situation. But he's taken Reece James, the right back, off for Dan Burn.
Yeah,
and then he's taken at the same time Declan Rice off for O'Reilly. So you've put a fullback on for a central midfielder and a central defender on for a right back. And then you just saw that in the final 10, 15 minutes. Like, those goals are awful goals to concede. I mean, the first goal, every England player, they switch off from the short corner, which is terrible. I mean, they just are completely turned off. For a team where you're like, they're probably going to take a short corner. They don't want to lump the ball into the box. England have every height advantage. And then I know people are watching the clip of Jude Bellingham, who's the only England player who tries to close Enzo down and gets close to doing it. I mean, the people will talk. It's fine margins. He's a millisecond away from blocking that, and who knows what the end result is if Argentina don't get the equalizer there and then. But how is a player hanging around just outside the penalty area when a short corner is being taken with no one near to him? And then there's 9 England players hanging around the sort of 6-yard box. It's awful. It's really awful. And the only thing you can say is, okay, the players there let themselves down, but they're all playing out of position. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing at that point. So everything breaks down. And I'll also say, if this was part of his game plan, if he thought coming into this World Cup, because ultimately he took some bold risks with some of the decisions that he made with the squad. And ultimately, I think the only risk that he took that paid off was Jed Spence, who also, played quite well in that match. And in one of the few England players who I think can kind of walk away from the Argentina game feeling like he sort of improved his reputation. Like he had one fantastic tackle. He was good going forward. He's a little bit unlucky that he does get fouled in that sort of lead in the build up to the second goal and seemingly sort of injured and wasn't able to then close down the way he would have done otherwise. But like, take Harry Maguire then. If you think you're going to go backs to the wall, take the guy who wins headers, who's super experienced, who can come on as a substitute and lead the line. Like, Harry Maguire would have been there at a corner shouting instructions to players of you're on him, you're doing this, you're doing this. Instead, you bring on Dan Burn, who, whilst he's a giant, I'm sure, like, do you think he's got the confidence to be shouting to other England players at a key moment in time? Hey, what the fuck are you doing? You pick him up. Like, no, I doubt he does. Whereas Harry Maguire would do. And then same, like, why have you taken Kobbie Mainoo and then you desperately need to bring a central midfielder on because Declan Rice is a spent force and he's not brought on? Like, I don't know. It's ultimately, this is the thing is he picked a squad, the decisions he's made, he's abandoned at the most crucial moment. He's got to go. He won't go because they extended his contract prior to the first tournament he played in for unknown reasons, because we just cruise through qualifiers because that's what England do. I mean, like, by this logic, his contract will be further extended because I'm sure England are going to cruise through the qualifiers for the Euros. So, like, it will never end.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just so unfortunate because as you look back to that Croatia match and you thought, everyone was so excited because it was like, okay, we conceded, but we just kept going and we did what we were great at. And it was clear that, we were just so good up front when we wanted to be and could score. And you had that opportunity you scored that first goal and the mentality could have been, hey, remember Croatia when we didn't give up and we just kept going and I screamed at you guys to like not play defensively and like, we're going to win this the way we want to win this. And it was right there. Like that could have been a defining moment like for Tuchel and for this England team. And instead they just all sat back and it was tough to watch. Like it was like cringy at points to watch.
And the thing that, I mean, it felt inevitable. Like I shouldn't be watching, and I'm not, like everyone watching. It was like, you're too deep. You're not, like when there's no out ball. Because here's the other thing too, is if you're going to do that, then throw Watkins or Tony on for Kane, because Kane isn't going to be able to, like, you can't win the ball back. Kane, wonderful player, but he's not going to press in the same way. He's not going to be a threat in case a long ball is then played. Put Rashford
standing
up front.
Next to Pickford half the match.
Yeah, but like take Kane off, put Rashford on. So at least then Argentina have to think like, shit, if they clear the ball and they just lump one ball forward, if it's a straight race between Rashford and one of our defenders, Rashford's winning. So we had to think a little bit about this. But instead, like, it was like watching a training exercise of just literally England were saying, hey, let's help Argentina prepare for a scenario where they have 10 minutes to score 2 goals. And England did a wonderful job of playing the part of the sort of scout team in that scenario. Like they nailed it. That wonderful preparation for Argentina.
And the other part that kind of annoys me too is like you have to like there was no recognition of their opponent. Like we discussed this, like they did this against Mexico, but yes, they were down a man. But Mexico again are nowhere near as good as Argentina. But more importantly, like Argentina have done this now, 4 matches in a row where they've been down and then kind of just thrown everything at it. And like, you knew that's what they were going to do. Like they're so used to it. They've been doing it match after match. Like
it's a World Cup semifinal. Like, of course they're going to throw, you know what I mean? This is the other thing. It's like, like people also praising Argentina, like for them being brave. Like they were losing in a World Cup semifinal. Yeah. England would have thrown everything at it too. And this is the other thing that bothered me too, is like it got to the end and there's 2 media responses that I don't like. One is, well, we praise them for being defensive against Mexico or praise them for being defensive against even Norway to an extent. It's like, yeah, different circumstances, horses for courses. You don't just play the same way every match and play every scenario in exactly the same way. So already that's a difference. And then the other thing being, other people saying like, well, the right team won in the end because Argentina were better. It's like, yeah, they were definitely better for the last 25 minutes because England became a non-entity. I mean, there's the stat, like England had 12% possession after they scored and all that. That wasn't because Argentina suddenly kicked into like untouchable football mode. They weren't Brazil 1970 all of a sudden on the pitch. It's that England stopped trying to play football. And so they allowed Argentina to play that way and to suddenly actually start to play well. It wasn't because, the resilience of this Argentina side, never beaten, never give up. It's like, look, I mean, England didn't pose a threat for the final 35 minutes of a match. Like in the same way, like I said afterwards, England were lucky that Mexico weren't good enough to get themselves over the line because England would have lost to Mexico at that stage had Mexico equalized. And it was same. As soon as Argentina scored, it was like, oh, this is over. There is no chance. Because not only are we going to be psychologically, like kind of mentally spent from just conceding a late equalizer in a World Cup semifinal, but again, our team is now configured to only do the thing that we've just been doing. And Argentina are going to know this, and we know this. And that's why I think Tuchel should be sacked, is because he should have then made changes at 1-1. He should have gone like, reset. Like, now let's get Rashford on. Now let's get Tony on. But then he waits until Argentina scores and rolls the dice with 2 minutes left. He may as well have just left the same players on the pitch at that stage. And the quotes that are coming out, the quote, like Messi's come outright and said, we felt they didn't want it anymore. Is his post-match comment. And like,
oof.
I think that's almost accurate.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was like watching a boxer who just goes like, no mas. I can't do it. Like, I've thrown every punch I can now, and I'm just absorbing hits. And like, I can't do this much longer. I hope my corner throws in the towel. And Tuchel threw in the towel. He did it for England. He went, no, I'm not going to try and get something more out of you. This is it. We're done. I can't be bothered. Let's focus on the Euros now.
Yeah, the non-reset too after the 1-1 goal was shocking too. Like, because at that point, like, what are you going to do? You can't sit back now. What are you sitting back for? For penalties? You're going to sit back for another 40 minutes?
Also, at that stage, like, you've got your substitutions to use. You're going to get another substitution in extra time. You use the substitutions now, so you reset. You basically go like, we're now playing for extra time. All we got to do is hold on for 5 minutes, but we're now going to reset. We're now going to set ourselves up for extra time. And not doing that, it was like, no, we're going to desperately hold on for extra time, and then I'm going to try and reset. It was pathetic. And look, defensively, England failed for both goals. And I know people will praise, okay, the shot, it's okay. It's an okay finish from Enzo. I don't think it's fantastic, but like, he's unmarked on the edge of the penalty area for reasons I don't understand. And maybe Pickford should be doing a bit better with it, in all honesty, as well. Like, I don't want to be critical of Pickford because he made some fantastic saves to keep it 1-0. So it's hard to pick that out. The second goal, okay, it's Messi's weaker foot. He does a good job to create a yard of space. He puts in a very nice ball. But how is Martinez? He's got a defender behind him, a defender in front of him. How are you not just tight marking?
Yeah.
There's like 7 England players in there and 3 Argentinians, and one of them has found 2 yards of space. It doesn't make any sense to me. And it's not because he's done some incredible bit of movement to free himself. He literally has stood in a position and no one's gone, a cross is coming in. Let me just like get tight to him and make sure that I win that header. And yeah, Stones gets really close to winning the header. If he'd just been standing a yard further back, he easily heads it out for a corner, and we're probably going on to extra time. And then who knows? Then maybe they could have reset. Like, maybe it would have been possible. We didn't even give ourselves a chance. And then I just think honestly, I was more deflated after that defeat and more disappointed in England after that defeat than I was when they lost to Iceland in 2016. Because against Iceland, It was like, we're not good. We're not good. We've been exposed. Iceland have beaten us. And yes, are we better than Iceland? Sure. It's still awful, but like, we aren't good. I don't think England are the best team in the world at the moment, but I actually do think they're better than Argentina. I think they showed that. and then they just abandoned it. And I don't know. Like, I'll say this to the point. I'm so annoyed with Tuchel, and that if Tuchel is England manager, I cannot want England to win the Euros in the next tournament. I cannot want Tuchel to get a redemption arc with England. I don't think he deserves it. So
what if the redemption arc is learning from his mistakes and not sitting back anymore?
No, his only redemption. The only thing Tuchel could do at this moment in time to make me have any degree of respect for him is to fall on his sword. Is to say, no, but honestly, is to say, do you know what? I prepared this team to play a certain way. I didn't do a good enough job in preparation, obviously. And on top of it, too, I made mistakes. And someone else should lead this team moving forward. I have, especially when he sees the comments that are coming out from players about how they say, we don't know why we played this way. You've lost the dressing room. He's not going to get it back. And I already don't there was this the reaction to the ITV post-match when the sort of on-field reporter had asked Tuchel after the Norway win, and he said, they kind of probed because he made those weird comments about mentality. And then Tuchel said, well, I actually don't think we played very well, but we won. That's the important thing. And then the reporter then subsequently said to Bellingham, well, your coach says, and people have had this backlash that he was doing his job. That's what we want from a journalist, is someone to ask a question that gets actually an interesting fact out of them, and then to probe further, and then maybe put that to Bellingham post-match. It's not him trying to sow seeds of unrest in the England camp. What do we want otherwise? Just the sideline reporters who go, well, what are you going to do in the second half? Oh, we're just going to try and execute better. Wow, wonderful insights. Thank you very much. I've learned so much about what's going to happen.
I think we just want the sideline reporters that sleep with the coaches, don't we?
Yeah. but I thought it was a good example of sports journalism. It was revealing about the England team. It was revealing about Bellingham. It was revealing about Tuchel. And not all negatives. I don't think there's anything wrong with a coach after the match saying, we won, but we didn't play well. There's nothing wrong with that. He wasn't critical of the team. And I actually don't hate Bellingham. I think Bellingham should handle those comments better, to be perfectly honest. I think Mr. PR, which is what Bellingham kind of is in a lot of ways, should be able to go I can understand what he's saying. I'm a little disappointed in how we played too, but the most important thing is we won. Boom. Was that hard to say? Boom. And then if you're annoyed, you go in and say to Tuchel, hey, I don't think you should be saying we played badly, immediately after the match when we were all on the pitch and speaking to reporters and stuff. I felt a bit blindsided by the fact that I was having to deal with that. That's not the reporter's fault. But I think he's lost the team. If I was Mainu, I'd say fuck off the next time he tried to pick me for England. Honestly, what's the point?
That would be great for England, though.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if Mainu should have been there in the first place, but what's the point of taking you? He's the only player in the squad who hasn't played a single second in this World Cup.
What about Henderson?
Other than goalkeepers. Henderson came on.
Oh, that's right. He did.
But he's the only outfield player who has not played a second.
Yeah.
And this is an England team that's had Declan Rice dealing with flu or whatever and who's been struggling. Henderson broke his wrist. You're a central midfielder. What would I have to do to get on the pitch at this stage? What would have had to have happened during that Argentina game for Tuchel to turn around and say, hey, Mainu, get on the pitch? And we were desperately crying out for midfielders to come on and just get back a semblance of control. Just hold the ball for 60 seconds at a time. I know when you're defending, 15 minutes feels like an eternity, but when you're attacking and you need a goal, 15 minutes feels like nothing. And if you just are good enough to, not just kick the ball back to them, just have 10 seconds, 15 seconds of possession, get fouled. All right, that's a minute gone now. We're going to push some players forward. Pickford can come and take a free kick from the edge of the area and fuck about for a second. And then all of a sudden, all right, 1 minute gone. And Argentina are going to get more and more desperate. And eventually they're going to have to probably revert to the sort of long balls that England were then attempting when they were 2-1 down with 2 minutes to go, because you don't have a choice at that stage. But it was awful. Really, really awful. And to the point too, not only that, I almost want a clean slate with the England team because of that. Because I also judge them as players. I'm not going to just throw, because I do think they also, as the team, the lack of leadership on the pitch, I think has to be judged in those moments, that there weren't players stepping up and saying, no, get out of here. Like, I mean, Pickford maybe is the only one who's just screaming at people and trying to get them to do it. But
he's just screaming all the time. Like, I don't even know if he even knows what he's saying half the time. He's just screaming.
But like, John Stones is immensely experienced. What's he doing at that stage? Harry Kane is the captain. What's he doing at that stage? Like, and then you kind of look at it and then you go, actually, now I get it, because other than those two players, who on the England pitch at that point, who on the pitch at that point is someone who you think could step up and really be screaming at players for England? And you look at that and go, I mean, I don't think Gahey, I don't think Byrne,
I think
Bellingham, O'Reilly.
Maybe. He's been in enough situations now.
He has done, but I mean, and Bellingham had a wonderful World Cup, and I don't want to feel like I'm sort of singling him out, but like Bellingham, it's a bit performative at times in terms of how he tries to inspire. And I do think he inspires more through what he does. And then the match, like he's maybe the only England player who at any point actually tried to get into the Argentinian half in the final 20 minutes, but I don't know. I guess that's what Henderson was taken for. Maybe Henderson would have been useful. And I say that. I actually think, I would have, honestly, Henderson was a player who should have been brought on in that scenario had he been capable of coming on. But I think there's a host of England players who got left back who I would have rather been seen coming on. I mean, this isn't because I'm a Blackburn supporter and I have really high estimations of Adam Wharton, but they're crying out for a player like Adam Wharton at that stage who would have just slowed the game down, got the ball, played a couple of passes. Exactly what we saw Spain do against France. It's not, when I say it's not hard, like being Rodri is incredibly difficult. He's a wonderfully talented footballer. But what you need at that stage is just that person who just picks the ball up 10 yards in front of his defenders, just takes a second, plays it. If it's going to be to a right back, then you can recycle possession. It's not, I play it to O'Reilly and O'Reilly just aimlessly kicks the ball forward 50 yards and Argentina come again. Like it's someone going like, we're good footballers. We can play 4 passes and they will foul us. Like this, I don't know. It was awful. I'd honestly, Tuchel's got to go. I wouldn't be annoyed if it was like, let's move on to the next generation to a large degree.
So just a few more talking points. The first one, you mentioned it briefly, the Jed Spence potential foul in the buildup. Yeah. Now, this is under, I think, more scrutiny given the fact that Argentina directly benefited from a very similar, if not like nearly identical situation where their player was fouled with a very similar foul where the opposing player stepped on the Argentinian's foot and then got possession of the ball and then took the ball all the way down the field. This was against Egypt. And then Egypt went and scored that goal. That was then sent to VAR. VAR said, no, there was a foul before that led to Egypt getting the ball and scoring, no goal. This seems eerily similar where Messi steps on Spence's foot, Spence loses possession, Messi gets the ball, and then eventually they score off of that direct possession.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is you watch the replays and there's not clear contact. But this is also the thing. This is where the conspiracy
there's pretty
theories
clear contact.
But this is where the conspiracy theories can come in. It's like, why in that Argentina match against Egypt, why do we have like full, instantaneous, high definition, clear view of this? Whereas when the Jed Spence thing's happening, it's like grainy, zoomed in. What's going on here? And then this is the inconsistency in terms of technology being available at different stages throughout this tournament. But
they don't release the footage. I mean, like no. VAR has done this multiple times where you always hear where it's like, oh no, VAR had a view that definitively showed it. Oh, where was that view? Well, they haven't released the view. Why? Why can't they release all the views?
And look, here's the real thing: is Jed Spence should have gone down. That's the thing.
He does kind of. You're
looks
right.
like he injures himself,
down, but he clearly limps. Like he clearly
he does, but you don't know.
You
don't know watching it live whether he's like jarred himself in the thing. He needs to fall over. You need to, And that's a brave thing to do in that moment because he needs to be the one who closes down. And ultimately, Messi has the space to put that ball in because Jed Spence can't get there, and the other England players react slowly to the like, oh, Spence can't get there. But he needs to go down. That's ultimately what you need to do. We know that this is what happens in football in the way it's officiated is like you need to be on the ground in order to get fouls a lot of times. But it's not the reason why England lost. And I don't want to be doing this thing where it's like, well, I think we would have lost anyway at that stage. I don't think that they would have survived extra time. So maybe it was ripping the Band-Aid off, and that was better than watching another 30 minutes. Like, because we could have gone to extra time. England could have lost like 5-1 in extra time. You know what I mean? Like it could have been, it could have got ugly. Because Argentina, I mean, had lots of chances to score even before they hit the woodwork twice. Pickford
made two nice saves.
2 really good saves. So like it was coming, it was inevitable, and it got there. Like it was.
The other major talking point I think that's come out of this is Harry Kane and pretty much the absence of Kane that entire match. And the criticism comes right back, which doesn't make any sense to me, where it's like in big games, Harry Kane just isn't there. But it's like, what are you defining a big game? Because 2 big games ago, he had to score to advance, and he did. So like that wasn't a big game, even though it was a knockout game. Just because it was early in the knockout, it's not a big game, even though it's win or go home. Like, so the definitions of what is a big game and what's not a big game, I think, is what is really annoying in that argument. But I think Harry Kane was for the vast majority of that match just completely absent.
Yeah, he was anonymous. And look, we post the DRC game, I did say I kind of wanted that to be a moratorium on people questioning Harry Kane. And so I don't want to say, but yeah, look, if you're Harry Kane, would you be a little bit annoyed or disappointed in the fact that in the very biggest of games for England, in semifinals and finals that he's played in, he's not done a lot? And this is the same. And look, this is the unfortunate thing. Erling Haaland has had the same criticism leveled at him when you're a goal scorer, and that's when your job is. Like, it's not as if Harry Kane missed a chance in this match. He didn't. No chances were created for him. Had England continued to play the way that they were, I think he probably has a chance to score at some point in the final half an hour. But they didn't. At that point, he was a defender. So, I mean, he continued to work hard. There's no doubt about that. But I don't think he played badly, but he was a little bit anonymous. But I think you can say that about a lot of England players in the last half an hour of that match. So, the thing that annoys me more, I mean, the other bigger controversy is, I'll go 2 things, two little anti-Argentinian rants. I mean, the way they conduct themselves. If I were Argentinian, I'd be ashamed to be Argentinian, just in terms of everything.
I wasn't there. I was getting there.
But this whole, like, all of them at all times, like, we're doing it for Messi stuff. I get to the last World Cup a little bit because maybe this is Messi's last World Cup. He hasn't won a World Cup. And I can maybe think being his teammate and part of the motivation being he deserves one of these. We think he's the greatest footballer of all time. He deserves this. This is a little bit of an extra. But this, like, the fact that they're in the changing rooms afterwards and doing their little, like, this one's for Leo chant, and then the match finished and they're just all instantly around Messi. Like, have a little bit of self-respect as a player. You're all playing for Argentina, winning a World Cup match. A lot of you have won a World Cup previously. You play for big teams in South America and Europe. Why is this sort of weird sycophantic relationship with Messi for this whole Argentinian team? Like, we talk about whether or not we'd be able to be in sort of professional sports environments at different moments in time, and like how tough it would be, say, to be in an NFL locker room in terms of engaging with some of your teammates. I think I couldn't play for Argentina because I couldn't buy in. Like, I couldn't do this like full Kool-Aid drinking of Messi all the time. Of like the only reason I'm here is to help Messi win another World Cup. No, why aren't you there to also win yourself a World Cup and more importantly your country a World Cup? Isn't that the real focus? Like, why do you only exist to sort of help someone else achieve more of their goals? It's so weird to me. and it permeates everything that surrounds Argentina, that he's the only thing people speak about. They win, well, it's because Messi played really well. They they lose, they let Messi down. It's all, it bothers me so much. We didn't have this with, like, if you think of the Chicago Bulls era, Michael Jordan, like, yes, everything was about Jordan, but it wasn't Scottie Pippen in the locker room being like, I just really want to win the NBA finals for Michael Jordan. Like, I'm just here. I'm so lucky to be his teammate, and I'm just here to bring him success. That's all
that's
I'm
Jordan.
here for.
This is Messi.
No, I know, but it's just so weird to me. It's so weird. And maybe ultimately, if I'm Ronaldo, maybe I'm like, why couldn't Portugal feel that way about me? Like, if I'm then that, like, if I'm the player, I probably. But even then, I think if I'm Messi, it's like uncomfortable. Like, guys, have more, like, I want teammates who think like, you play for world-class teams. Why are you, it's like they treat it as if we've just picked like 10 random people off the street to play with Messi, and they should all be like happy to be there. It's like so
they won
weird
the
to me.
lottery.
Yeah.
So I guess the last talking point then is the Argentinian players' celebrations, demeanor, antics. I don't know. You'll probably pick some harsher words. So there's a few different, obviously, things that happened. I think the one is after the match, Bellingham slaps Valentin Barco in the back of the head, and that seemed to stem from the fact that during the match for both goals, he was never on the actual pitch; was just a sub for both goals, was wildly celebrating. One time, like, ran in front of England's bench and was like celebrating in front of the bench, and then the second one ran out onto the pitch, but not to like the where like all the other players were celebrating, was like running around like the England players, kind of like almost screaming in their faces in a way, and then probably was saying stuff as he got on afterwards, crossing in front of Bellingham.
Yeah, I mean,
and
he
Bellingham
definitely
speaks Spanish, so he definitely says something
says
Bellingham
something to Bellingham.
understands.
Yeah, he
And
definitely, you can
Bellingham
see that
slapped
he's.
him.
Look, I mean, I made me like Bellingham more. I wish England players had done that more. Like, obviously within the realms, but like, there were moments during the game. I mean, I was watching it with David and with Peter. There were moments during the game. I was like, just fucking kick him. Just, I've had enough of like watching the way they're behaving. Just kick them. And I do give England credit for keeping composed most of the time. But you look at the replays of like when they score the equalizer, and again, I judge people so much of your team scores a huge equalizer, and you're not just overwhelmed with passion and celebration going off to celebrate with your teammates. Your first reaction is to go and stand above Pickford and scream in Pickford's face whilst he's sort of just on the ground. And maybe if Pickford had been doing stuff throughout the games, and I know that Pickford can be a bit of a troll, but he's not insulting people or shouting stuff. You know, like, he's not, he might be taking a bit of time from a goal kick or something, but like, it says so much about who you are and what your DNA is as a team, that's your first reaction to success, is to just immediately go and try and rub it in the faces of you. I think they're shameful. I think I hope with every fiber of my being that they don't win the World Cup, because I think what an awful example it is to young people watching sport of that's the way you should conduct yourself. And then, I mean, they just seem like just gross thugs, to be honest with you, for the majority of the match. Like, I mean, really, really terrible. And to be doing that when you have the quote unquote greatest footballer of all time playing with you, it's honestly disgusting. Like, I hate them. And I like, most of the time just don't care about antics like that. And sometimes I kind of respect the dark arts of football a little bit, like Atletico Madrid do it. But I think Atletico Madrid kind of tread the line a little bit there. I mean, they cross it occasionally, but for the most part, there is just a sort of, we're still kind of trying to play football. We're just going to try and get you a little riled up in the process. Can we get under your skin? Can we cause? But like, people were so upset about Paraguay against France. Sorry. This was 10 times worse than what Paraguay did to a large extent, because at least Argentina should be expecting to be like competing. Paraguay kind of had no option. But like, and then to cap it all off.
Hold on, wait, before you get to that, the other like little the little scummy things that really like piss me off too, where like when Harry Kane was seen to be talking to the ref and like slightly covers his mouth to talk to the ref, and then the
Yes.
Argentinian player was like, oh, he's touching, oh, he's doing his mouth, oh, he's doing his mouth. It was so pathetic, and I love that Harry Kane turned to him as like, I'm fucking talking to the ref. I'm allowed to cover my mouth. As if you're talking to a player, you fucking moron. Like, know the rules because you're an absolute idiot. Like, I love that Harry Kane turned to him and instantly said, I'm sure that's not what he said, but something along those lines of like, no, you're an idiot. Like, you don't even know the rules. Like I'm allowed to do this to the ref. One, I'm the captain, and two, the rule book is to another player. But that was like one thing where it was like, you can see this is the type of team they are, that like that's what they want to do. And then I don't know if you saw the other one when they took Pickford's water bottle in the hydration break. They ran over and took it and were like reading his water bottle about like all like the different like penalties and things like that. And like we're all like for like a good 3 minutes, we're just reading his thing. Like it's just so sleazy. Like they are just a sleazy team. Like, and if you watch that match and don't think they're the villain, like then you're crazy.
Not even villain. If you think they're likable. Like, and again, I say this, like, people say, oh, it's just because you'd love it. No, I wouldn't love it. Like, again, it's why it's fortunate to kind of record a podcast. There are times that I support England in things where I go, like, I don't want this team. I don't like how we play. I don't like the style. It's the thing that I loved under the Southgate era is like the England team was so likable that it really made me want to see them win. Like it felt like the players really deserved it because of how they conducted themselves. And then you look at this Argentinian team and they just don't deserve it. They don't deserve it. They're setting the worst example for how football should be played. And then look, I know Americans, non-British people, the whole Falkland stuff, it's so tiresome. I spoke about it in the build up to it. It's even worse. The fact that they unfurled that sort of flag at the end that said the Falklands are Argentinian. FIFA, they're going to get a punishment for it. It's not going to be a punishment that warrants the crime. They're going to get a fine afterwards, and probably those players are going to get a suspension post-World Cup. They should all be suspended for the World Cup final. FIFA is so strict on political messaging when you play. Like, England, Wales, and Scotland are not allowed to wear the poppy symbol, to have the poppy symbol on their shirt, which is just our Remembrance Sunday, Veterans Day kind of symbolism. It's not political as a statement. It is just recognizing the service of military personnel over the years with a particular focus on World War I and World War II. It's not a political message. It's not an endorsement for war. It's not a support. It's not even really a support for the military now necessarily. It's looking back on previous things. That we're not allowed to do and have been fined for wearing previously. And there's been all sorts of going into Qatar, people who were talking about wearing, pride symbols because of treatments of homosexuality in Qatar. And that was like, no, under no circumstances can you do this. Like, this is a match between two countries where one of them has finished it and then not only coming into the match made strong political statements in the build-up and heightened tensions, but then immediately in the aftermath got out a flag to do that, to just claim ownership of a territory that through its own self-determination has no interest in being part of Argentina. It's remarkable. Honestly, if FIFA had any balls, they should kick Argentina out of the World Cup for that. And I'm not saying put England in the final. They should be gone. Because that, again, isn't what this World Cup is supposed to represent. It is not. It's the criticism of lots of things that have permeated this World Cup in terms of people being denied visas. We've spoken about it. It's supposed to be this best version of the world, this celebration of sport, and this is not it. Argentina should, again, get over yourselves. It's a wonderful country. Go, why don't you go speak about Argentinian barbecue or something in the build up to a match. Just enjoy yourselves, ride some horses, do something, but get over just move on from this war that has no real importance to the modern day. I'm so disgusted by it. It's really tough. And the thing that we discussed in the last episode, I've seen people writing articles of well, why is the Falklands part of the part of the British Empire still? It's so close to Argentina. It's they fucking vote to be part of it still. They were never Argentinian. They don't speak Spanish. They speak English. They vote we're supposed to believe this modern society of like self-determination. This is what is dictated when countries get independence and stuff. But in this instance, it's like, hey, you know that piece of the world that's never been part of Argentina, but it is closer to Argentina. Let's give it to Argentina, even though no one who lives there wants to be Argentinian. Like, annoys me so much.
Did you
But yeah,
see?
and the players, but and just to finish it, you know, like Spain, the players once. I mean, this is like picks on England to a certain extent, but like they, after a match, Spanish players held up a thing that said like Gibraltar is part of Spain. They did that. They got suspended for the next matches. This was not during a World Cup. FIFA will not have the balls to suspend every player touching that flag and say you cannot play in the World Cup final. But they should do that. They really should.
I don't think they've even come out and said anything.
No, because they'll say it will get treated like it will be dealt with post World Cup. You know, like this is what they're going to do. They're going to let the dust settle, and then I'm sure it will be a fine. Argentina have done this before with the Falklands are Argentinian. They got a €20,000 fine last time, but that was not against England when they had it done. So let's see what happens this time. But whatever they do, it won't be significant.
Saying that they should be those players that do play in the Premier League should instantly be removed from their clubs and be sent out.
I'm a little torn on this because, like, yeah, I don't think that like people are allowed to be proud of playing for their country and then they go play for their club. It's very different. And, you know, like, I don't know, if I were playing I could theoretically imagine a version of myself where I was playing for PSG, but then played France and talked about how great it is to win, you know, beaten. Now, not in any way near the same tone, but, you know, you're going to have that with international sport. I do think the Argentinians have slightly crossed the line to a degree of like, if you hate us so much, go somewhere else. Like I think there is that argument of no. If this is you're so passionate. This is like you bleed blue and white for Argentina, and you are so offended by the fact that the Falklands are still part of the part of the British, like a British territory. Then don't go and play for Spurs. Don't go play for Chelsea. You should feel morally obligated to be playing somewhere else. But you will take huge sums of money and further your career there, but then go away and do it. I don't want to be so petty to say like their visas should be revoked, but I can kind of understand why they should be to a degree. Like I kind of do. And I've read lots of articles like Spurs fans saying, yeah, Romero is one of our better players, but we're happy to get rid of Romero now. Like he's kind of crossed the line there.
All right. So anything then, I guess let's do, a quick preview. I think we've kind of, in the build-up, kind of talked through most of this. I think we're both on the same page. I think Spain will win. And I think Spain, unlike England, will take an early lead and then not sit back. They'll continue to play the game they play and almost play keep away and not let Argentina do what they want to do and what they did against England. So I think Spain will win this. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 3-1.
I think it could get out of hand. I think, you know, we've spoken, I've said it. I think if you were Spain and you watched that semifinal, you would have been like, all right, we've got them. There's nothing here for us to be overly afraid of. You know, and like, yes, you could talk about Argentina know how to win. You know, that's 13 wins in a row. I mean, including progressions, you know, if you throwing in extra time for Argentina now in World Cup matches since they lost to Saudi Arabia in the opening match of 2022. I think Argentina will struggle to score against Spain. I mean, Spain obviously have kept 6 clean sheets out of 7 in this World Cup. I don't think this is a close game. I think Spain would have beaten England. I think England would have posed Spain more problems. But I don't think, as I said, we both felt like, right, the Spain-France match was basically the final. And yeah, I think Spain now have been handed the easiest. This is the easiest. This is to me, this is like, there's not been a lot of World Cup finals in my lifetime where I felt there's a huge disparity. I think France-Croatia in 2018 was one of them. I think this is another one. I think this is France-Croatia territory in terms of quality of the two teams. I really don't think this is close.
I think it's offset a little bit by the fact that you have Messi out there.
I mean, you have a Messi. I don't think so. I mean, look, Messi is an incredible player, and England allowed Messi to do what he does best. He walks around the pitch. If you just stay tight to him, I mean, again, it all sounds so much easier than when you're actually doing it. But like, I don't think Messi will do much in this final. I really don't. I just think because he's not going to chase the ball. He doesn't do that.
Yeah.
So if this Spain team just dominates possession and passes the ball around, what's Messi going to do? Just stand, kind of wander around different positions. And I don't know, I'll prepare myself for the little clip. So, look at him checking. He's looking. He's always looking. Like this is the thing where we all have to praise him at all times. He's always looking. He never stops looking. Like all these things where, he doesn't move. He just walks, but he's still dangerous. I mean, it's all the stuff like you can piece together. Like highlight clips of all players you can make look, and Messi is phenomenal. I'm not trying to say this, but it is the sucking up that the media does to Messi at times. It's like I've watched Blackburn sign players based on you, and you go and watch the YouTube video of their highlights, and you're like, my God, this player is incredible. And then they turn up, you're like, this guy is dog shit. Like, but yeah, if you play a season of football, I could have put together a pretty good highlight clip of you that makes you look pretty good. And that's not what we're doing with Messi. But I think in this World Cup, there are moments when post-match it's like, look at him here, controlling. It's like, yeah, okay, against England, like if you put me on the right wing and no one was within 20 yards of me, there's a decent chance that every once in a while I could whip a good cross in. Like it's not, I mean, he did one thing. I mean, he didn't against England. There was that one moment.
I want to be clear. You think you and Messi are like the same level pretty much now?
Pretty much at this stage,
okay.
Yeah.
Just want to be clear. Okay.
Yeah. Against England, I think there are two things you could kind of... There was that one moment he sort of picked the ball up a little bit side in the England half, and Kane tried to tackle him, and he avoided that, and then he sort of worked his way through 2 or 3 England players, all of whom were basically trying to foul him. It's incredible when you see him do that, and he can't really do that much anymore. But that was a glimpse of what Messi used to be. It is remarkable to see that in terms of the balance that he has there and the ability he has to control the ball in tight spaces. It is unbelievable skill, and the way that he's just bouncing off players who are in that moment in time, I think, solely intent on pulling him down, and he can just somehow wriggle his way through. It's incredible. There's no one else on earth who can do that. And he does a good job to create.
So that you can't do.
No,
not even you. Okay.
Not even me. And then he did a good job for the second goal to kind of create that half yard of space to get that ball in. And it's with his weaker foot, so that's still a good ability to like dink a ball in with your weaker foot. It's still impressive. But I still think people are like going overboard with the quality of the assist. And he's getting credit for the assist for the first goal too. I don't think taking a short corner and then just rolling the ball to a player unmarked on the edge of the penalty area, like I don't think that's really an assist. We've Americanized the sport now where we call that those assists now. But like that isn't an assist. That's just you happen to be the player to go, here, you have the ball. And okay, goal. But yeah, and look, can we do a preview of this World Cup final without mentioning that photo of Messi bathing Lamine Yamal, which is everywhere?
No, because you just did it.
I know, but it's just impossible. It's obviously in the build up to this World Cup. It is crazy.
What a fat baby he is. I think that's my takeaway. That is one chubby ass baby for a kid who's now like super skinny. Do you know what I mean? Like when you look at how he looks now and then you look at that baby photo, you're like, that's not the same kid. That's a fat baby.
Well, I'll be honest with you. There is part of me that's like, is it really Lamine Yamal? There is that part of me of like, is it really, or was this just a wonderful story to be able to create? I know it is him. And it is the
so
serendipity,
weird.
The coincidence to have this happen, and then the two of them to be playing in the World Cup final 20 years later or whatever, like it's insane. It's a cool story. It's been overdone in terms of like everyone has to speak about it at all times, but it is. And what's funny is like people are pulling it out for this World Cup as if this is suddenly it's emerged. That photo, I've seen it since Yamal started breaking into the Barcelona team.
Yeah.
Because already there it was crazy of like, oh, they're like the new Messi was bathed by the old Messi. That was already
so weird. I mean, just the idea of a bathing picture alone is really weird.
Yeah.
How many pictures of you do you have with other people bathing you?
Well, a lot, mostly taken in the last few weeks, but that's. When I was in
I
London, I
said
took a few
bathing, not
photos.
bathhouse.
When I was in London, Sam bathed me a couple times. Got a few photos of that. No, it's a weird photo shoot. It definitely wouldn't happen now.
No.
That doesn't get cleared by a PR team now. It's crazy to me that it got cleared then.
I bet you right now they're thinking about it like, all right, we got to find a baby who we project to be one of the next great stars, and we'll have the current star bathe them.
It's weird. The quotes too from it. Just reading this article. The guy who took the photo said, Messi is a really introverted guy, very timid and shy. He came into the dressing room and suddenly had to take these photos with a little baby. Not even a kid, a proper baby. And his face changed like he had no idea what to do. It is difficult for a young man, but Lamine was a very happy, smiley little baby. His mother helped us.
Baby.
She was a young girl and they were a very poor family, but they were very nice to work with.
Had to throw that in there. Jesus. They were good to work with. The follow-up is just as bad.
The butt is doing a lot of work there. You can say she was a young girl and they were a very poor family, and they were really nice to work with. But the butt, it's like, and I know that sounds gross and disgusting, but actually they were okay.
Yeah. Wow. Jesus Christ.
And he went on to say Messi was always a professional in these kinds of things, and he adapted to the situation very quickly. It's because he's always scanning. Children. He's scanning.
Yeah, he's always looking.
Scanning.
He's always looking.
He got into that room and he scanned and he saw a baby and he knew. And not a lot of people would have walked into that room and identified a baby as quickly as Messi did, but he's always scanning. But yeah, no, I think, and I really, really hope Spain win. I really, really hope.
All right. Anything else then, I guess, sports or non-sports related? I know we're kicking off here a little bit. It was a decent England rant, which I know our listeners will enjoy. So,
no, I did see, just to finish up the England World Cup discussion, I guess. I did see the clip of Ed Sheeran performing for the England team. Did you see this video?
Yeah. What was weirder, Messi bathing Yamal or Ed Sheeran playing to a team that has no care in the world that he's playing?
And I understand too, because it seems that sometimes I know in previous World Cups, like in Qatar, especially because there wasn't as much stuff to do. They did Robbie Williams went and performed for them and stuff. I get it, because at night they're trying to create activities, and obviously in the US they don't have as much. They can go and do things, and if anything, they can do more in the US than they can do almost anywhere else because people don't recognize them as much. But that seemed to be from the clip, it's post training. The players are sweaty and in just their training stuff, and then they're just sat down, sort of hydrating while Ed Sheeran plays some songs on his guitar. Even if you liked Ed Sheeran, I'm I don't know if I want Ed Sheeran to play for me right now. This isn't.
Yeah.
And if you're Ed Sheeran,
I feel bad for Ed Sheeran. Why would you do it? Actually,
but you said yes.
But what's probably one of those things where maybe he was just in America and was hey, it'd be really cool to stop by and see the guys. I'm sure he knows them, right? I'm sure they've
he was at, I think he's been at every England match, in fairness, too.
And I'm sure he was I'd love the opportunity to go say hi to the boys, wish them luck, things like that. And I'm sure someone was hey, why don't you play for them? They'd love that. And he'd probably be I don't know. That seems weird. No, just do it. No, just do it. Come on. They'll love it. They'll love it. All right.
I don't think
guess.
It's that way.
I think that's exactly how it went down. I don't think he's coming in with hey, can I meet the guys and play them some songs? Can I serenade the boys? I don't think he's coming in that way.
I don't think it's necessarily his idea. But Ed Sheeran, I think he also played for them in 2022. But that was more of a setup. And I think at that time they could bring family and stuff in. So it sort of makes more sense. I don't know. I think when I see the setup.
I think he was misled.
Why are we giving Ed Sheeran this get out of jail free card?
Why are you throwing him under the bus? Why do you got to be mean to Ed Sheeran? I'm going the other way here.
He seems like a perfectly nice guy, and I don't mind. Like if I was an England player, I don't really want that post training. I'd maybe want to like. It'd be cool if I don't know Ed Sheeran just showed up and you're just talking to Ed Sheeran for a bit. I'd rather do that than listen to him play for me while I sit around with a bunch of other professional footballers. Some of whom definitely will not like any of his music. Because I think that's the other thing is it's a little bit to the perception of Ed Sheeran. I would feel a little bit uncomfortable if I were a footballer. And I say this, I actually think athletes care less about this because they all speak about the musicians they like very openly. And sometimes they're a little embarrassing in terms of like, I think a bunch of the England players went to that one country music singers concert while they've been in the US.
Texas one.
Yeah. But part of me would be like, if I get too into the Ed Sheeran songs, well, are my teammates going to judge me? You know, like if I'm
no, because they like Prison Break.
Yes, but if I'm sitting there singing along, and then they kind of look over and they go like, you know what? I thought Eddie would come through in the semifinal, but now that I've seen him like mouthing the words to every Ed Sheeran song as he performs, I'm not sure if I want him to take a penalty for us. But yeah, no. Other than that, I think it's pretty much it.
I've got a slight update for you. I am about to drop the season finale of season 1 of From. I've pushed through the last few days.
Loving every moment.
Show, it is quickly starting to infuriate with how little they talk to each other, and as we discussed, how insane like they treat each other for like crazy things that shouldn't be crazy. So like the one that I'll kind of bring up, this is like, I mean, this will be kind of lost for a lot of our listeners, but the show basically takes place in like a very fictional world where like really weird things happen and they're trying to like figure out what's happening. And you have one guy who's trying to like build a radio tower to like try and communicate with other people, but there's like all this weird shit about like they don't like where is power coming from and this and that. And then there's the other guy who's helping him, who's also seeing these really strange symbols and is trying to also make sense of the symbols. And the one guy is just like, yeah, but like, just listen to me. Like, I don't know what these symbols, like, they could mean something. And the other guy, instead of being like, yeah, you're right, we're in this really fucking strange place. Like, anything that doesn't seem normal could be important. He's like, I don't care about your fucking symbols. Leave me alone with the symbol. The wires aren't even real.
Yes.
And then you're going to insult this guy who's like, I'm seeing this crazy symbol in like my dreams, but then also like in actual places. This could mean something. Like the level of scrutiny that these people have against each other is amazing.
Oh, and it never stops. Again, I enjoy the show, and I think it's kind of part of the charm, is that it's sort of trolling you to a certain extent. Like it's wanting you to be frustrated by what they're doing, because it does feel like if they all sat together for 45 minutes and everyone said like, I'm having this dream, I see this, I had this vision, I sometimes hear voices, and instead of people turning around to them and be like, you're losing your mind, or that doesn't matter, and then they will weirdly accept it at certain moments of time, they'll suddenly believe in something that one person has, but then not in the other people. It's part of the charm and frustration.
It's a very like Walmart version of Lost. The other thing that like I think it suffers that Lost was a lot better on is the characters. Like you like the characters a lot more on Lost. Like I don't know if there's any character on this show that I genuinely like enjoy or root for. Like they're all kind of annoying and they're all kind of shitty characters.
But I think that's great because I'm happy for them all to die.
I guess. The only other thing I'll say is I won't spoil anything for listeners who want to jump in, because it is like one of those shows that you can fly through. It's a great bingeable show. If you have like a weekend, you can binge through a lot. When they get to the flashback of the main guy and his family.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about? That got fucking
when he arrives.
Dark. That got dark super quick. That was just like, holy fuck, what is going on right now? This is some seriously dark shit.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, I think it has some good elements.
That took it up a notch. I did not think a show would go.
Yeah. And look, I still am enjoying it. I'm looking forward to the final season, which comes out next year, I guess.
And now how many seasons are there out right now that I've got to
4.
catch up to? Oh, fuck.
4.
This is going to be
Season
tough.
4 is the worst season, I would say. It's season, you can clearly tell they have this like 5 season.
They're prolonging it to season 5.
A little bit. Like not a huge amount really happens in season 4. But yeah, it's like watchable. But yeah, there's no doubt if they just all listen to each other more, because it's a combination of not taking the things they see seriously, and then also it is the constant like, I don't have time to talk about this right now. It's like, no, all you have is time to talk about this. You're trying to solve this one problem, and then someone sort of has an idea, and yeah, lots of them. Yeah, but
I'm interested to see how quickly they go through characters.
Not that fast, I will say. There's a pretty stable core of characters for the most part. But I recommend to listeners to watch it. My only other thing, the statistics I know we're done talking about, but on the back, obviously, of England playing at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, a really crazy stat that I saw was that stadium has now hosted a Super Bowl, which obviously it's hosted multiple World Cup games, national championship game in college football, SEC championship game, final of the MLS Cup, and a Copa America game, but it has never hosted a Falcons playoff game.
That's awesome. That's crazy. Oh boy. Well, that's like similar to all the MetLife ones with like, this team has this many wins in MetLife compared to like the Jets or the Giants and stuff.
Yeah. And Spurs Stadium last year, when the NFL teams that had played there had won more games in Spurs Stadium for half the season or whatever it was.
All right. Well, with that, we'll call it a day, and we'll be back to recap the World Cup final if I even decide to watch it. I don't know. Still a little, still a little bitter.
It's helped by your Bellingham jersey hanging up directly behind you.
That's the donation rack.
Okay.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Sounds good. See ya.
Cheerio.